strong to you, is that much?
Good afternoon. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
We have about 20 minutes.
Yes, ma'am.
And you have 3 minutes to open and 2 minutes to close, so you may begin when you're ready.
My name is David Silverman. I'm a county judge in Brevard County. I want to take a moment to tell you why I'm applying to fill the vacancy on the 5th District Court of Appeal. What prompted me to do this was an experience that I had as a temporary associate justice of this court for a week at the end of June of this year. There were 2 days of oral arguments. I participated in those and conferred with the judges and read the briefs and the memos by the appellate court staff attorneys, and it was a really wonderful experience. I mean, I was able to discuss weighty legal issues with the judges, and I was assigned to be the principal author of an opinion, which, timing is everything, it's expected out tomorrow. I can't convey to you the substance of what that opinion is, but it was a wonderful experience going back and forth with the attorneys and the judges. Yeah, on the way up here, I was trying to think about why that was so meaningful to me. What comparing it to other experience that I've had. And I remember feeling like that when I was a kid. And we lived in Chicago, and I'd go to my grandmother's parlor there, and she'd take down a book from the shelf. Now she was an immigrant, but she was very, very learned, and she spoke French. And she'd take down a book, and we'd read it together, and it had some of the same experiences. It was a treasure of knowledge I wouldn't have otherwise had, by authors these were old books. Some of them came from Ireland, and she was conveying to me part of my heritage, and I got to believe that the authors were really leaving a legacy of doing it. And this was with somebody who I really admired and loved. It was an experience like that because of my experience on the District Court of Appeals, part of a judge's legacy to be able to interpret the law, and I was doing that with folks I admired greatly, and it was lots of different areas of law. I mean, there are areas that you may not be familiar with that you have to intensely study in order to prepare yourself to participate in these proceedings. So I will say this, I think that I have tried to do that in another way as well. You know, as a trial judge, whether it's on the circuit court or the county court, is that the 3 minutes? I'll that's fine.
Just finish up, your train
well,
of thought.
You make decisions on individual cases. But what I have done, as my application would indicate, I have devoted a time and energies to judicial education. That is, to help make presentations to other judges, to help ensure the fairness of proceedings throughout the state for years to come. And you can have a legacy that way beyond the individual decisions that judges make. So that I apologize for exceeding my time.
Thank you.
Judge Silverman, I had the privilege of vetting you, and
Yes,
I spoke with everyone that you listed as a reference, and I just want to tell you it was a pleasure because everybody just had the nicest things to say about you. It was a privilege to talk to you, folks.
I'm glad that all the people I paid to say good things about me came true.
All your money was well spent.
I'm sorry, I'm not responding well to that compliment. I appreciate your saying that. Thank you, sir.
It was a pleasure. Talk to me about one of the things particularly impressed me was the mentoring work you've done with young lawyers through the Inns of Court organization.
Yes.
And I was the president of the Inns of Court on the Seminole side, so I'm very interested in the Brevard side. Would you tell us a little about your activities as a mentor?
Yes. I have both been a mentor as a mentor judge and as for attorneys at the Inns of Court. with respect to the attorneys, I'm the mentoring director of our local Inn of Court, the Vassar B. Carlton branch of the American Inn of Court here. And what we do is we assign individual mentors to new associates. And the associates, I will tell you, judges are having a hard, attorneys are having a hard time in this economy. I have, the mentors have helped them get jobs, helped them get better jobs, have introduced them to some new area of law that they wouldn't be otherwise attuned to. You'll have somebody working at the public defender's office or the state attorney, and they want to do something else. They want to go to personal injury, they want to do something else, but they don't know how to begin. So a mentor these are veteran attorneys who, when they call, somebody picks up the phone, and they can go ahead and get them into a mediation with some attorney, get them to shadow some attorney, make some contacts that goes well beyond the presentations on substantive areas of law that the Inn also does. So it has been useful to attorneys. I'm here to tell you it has helped them in their practices significantly. Oftentimes, attorneys, sometimes you wonder what they're thinking when new attorneys, because they get their law from TV or something, and so they need somebody to tell them, look, this is, you can't be doing that, and to do that gently to them and on a sort of confidential relationship with them, and that's what that mentor does. And so we don't really know what all the mistakes and goofiness that they might have been engaged in, but for this mentoring process. I'd go beyond the question a little bit to talk about being a mentor judge, because that
Please do.
it's a rather distinguished group of judges that are selected to be mentor judges for other judges. They're selected by the chief judge of the Florida Supreme Court, and I was selected to be one of those. And what you do, you perform the same function for a new judge, because a new judge, they don't know the ropes. They don't know what the case assignment basis is. They don't know what sort of clerks or deputies they're getting. They don't know how they may be being disadvantaged by attorneys or being taken advantage of. And so a mentor judge is somebody who gives them some guidance in that regard. And I was selected as the mentor judge of the year for 2003. And that's one of the, I brought along 2 pieces of paper that I thought might be worthwhile. I'm sure you get all sorts of certificates and awards and other things that to look at, but you might be able to tell what I think is important by the 2 that I selected. And I could go ahead and pass these out if I could. Could I hand them to you at appropriate time? One of them is that award that I got. If I could, if I may. If this is wrong, you tell me and I won't do it, but
No, it's okay.
here's a couple of pages.
We do it all the time for you.
Totally appropriate.
Thank you. It's just 2 pages. And the second page is that award that I was telling you about. Because I felt good about that, and if you identify the judges, you know it's a distinguished group. And so I felt good that I had been selected among them, even though it was 2003, and we still do that with new judges. The second document relates to my week on the appellate court here, and it comes from the secretary for Judge Torpy, whose name is Meredith Vincent, and she's been working here over 30 years. And she said that I was one of the best associate judges that they've ever had here in her time, so I thought that was meaningful to me, because it was related to this experience that I had. It was just a wonderful opportunity, and it was meaningful to me. So, I also brought the originals if there was a. That's the best evidence rule we vote.
I have one. Go ahead.
Okay.
Mr. Waller.
Thank you. My question is, how come you have not sought the circuit court position?
That was my question.
Well, I did.
Because you've been on the county bench, you've been the mentor, you've been doing all this, extracurricular work, which is much needed and impressive. I guess the question is, given the ability to be an associate judge here and to work at the appellate level? Why have you not sought higher office at the circuit court level? And do you think that would be a natural progression for you rather than jumping right to the appellate court?
And to answer the last part of your question, I agree that it would. I mean, I don't mean to be presumptuous seeking an appointment from the county court to the district court of appeal. I will say this. I have applied in a couple of occasions. One was in 2005, and I went through the JNC. My name was sent up to the governor, and with 5 others, and then it was reduced to 3, and I was one of the 3 at that time.
For circuit?
Yes. That vacancy was created by the passing away of a friend of mine, whose name was Mitch Barlow, who was a circuit judge in there. And he was a friend, and he would come down. I'm at the old Melbourne Courthouse on Neiman Avenue. There's only 2 county judges there. And it's a very friendly sort of place. And so he used to come down and try his cases and do things with me on Fridays, and we'd have lunch together. And when he passed away, he was always encouraging me to do that, and I sought his seat, and that's the point to which I got. I tried once again in 2009. I didn't, with my name was not reported up. There's a feature of being a county judge that is not widely recognized, and that is I can do as much circuit work as I can do if I get my work done. The last 2 weeks I spent in a capital sexual battery case trying that. There were 6 counts, each of which would carry a mandatory life sentence. On October 6th, I'm scheduled to handle a DUI manslaughter case. I can do as much as I can. There's no prohibition on a county judge doing that. So I have not missed out on doing circuit work completely, but you're right. I think that I understand how incongruous it appears, but I will tell you this. As a county judge, you have to go out of your way to try to put yourself in a position where you can write meaningfully about the law. What county judges do, we run into all sorts of issues that don't make it their way up to the appellate court. So how do we get guidance about this? Well, we share our feelings with each other. We publish things in the Florida Law Weekly Supplement. We talk to each other about those cases and opinions. We comment on those at conferences. And I have been able to convey some sense of the law in various presentations I've made. I've made one to the New Judges College in each of the last dozen years, on lieutenant law, to the Conference of County Court Judges on different subjects, to the DUI Education Lab, College of Advanced Judicial Studies. I have tried to convey that in other ways. So even though I haven't had the experience of the trial work on the circuit court as a member of that court, I have had some experience on that and tried to prepare myself for this in other ways.
Okay.
Thank you.
I see that you were, you started out as a cadet in high school, and then, but no military service. Tell me about that thought process.
Ma'am, Mrs. Kirschman, I was a high school senior in 1972, and at that time the Vietnam War was still ongoing. There was a concern that there were no student deferments. We expected we may well be drafted. There was no end in sight at that time. So what I did and some other people did was to go through several years of ROTC training in connection with that service. In the event that I was going to be inducted, I would have some opportunity to go in at a higher rank and increase my chances of surviving. So what they did in those days, they had 2 big plexiglass containers with ping pong balls in them. And one had a number and the other had a birth date. And what they do is they take them out and then they take the first 120 or 240, whatever it was. And so my number came out at higher than they were selecting that year, and so I was not called upon for service. I considered thereafter, because my father was a lawyer, and I wanted to go into law. I mentioned this in my application. He represented seamen and longshoremen in the loading and unloading ships at the Port of Chicago, and that's all I grew up wanting to do, was to be a lawyer. Because I would go down to the office, and of course the law business was different then. It was, cigar smoke and carbon paper and stuff. And so I would just play under the desk there, and I didn't know what was going on, but I knew this is exciting. And so I always wanted to do that. And so I thought maybe I could go ahead and be a member of the JAG Corps later on. And I actually got the paperwork for that one time to consider that, but you get a family, you get on in life, and I never got back to it. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Military service, I shouldn't put that. I did say in my application I didn't have military service. I didn't mention that. And I didn't mean to mislead anybody.
No, I wasn't.
Judge Silverman, what is your judicial philosophy?
Ms. Wozniak, well, let me say this. In county court, you have to have a lot of patience. Because, a lot of these people are not the serious sort of criminals you get in circuit court. A lot of them are just people who are having a hard time in life, and you have an opportunity to help them a little bit. And I'll tell you, that's what I would miss most about the county bench. Sometimes you get people to get a GED, or get a driver's license, or stop using drugs, or something you can help them. And that's a rewarding aspect of this. In order to do that, you have to make sure that everybody feels that they have been heard, cared for, and accounted for. And that's an important quality I feel that we have. And so, I think that there's actually a comparison between the county court and the district court of appeal. Let me explain what that is. It's not immediately apparent. The cases we handle in the county court are often not subject to appeal, because the amounts involved in the civil cases, there's hardly enough. Sometimes there's not even a record, and by the time the person by the time the appeal is perfected, the person's done their sentence. So that's kind of like the district court of appeals, in the sense that it's oftentimes the last resort for people. So if you're conscientious about this, it imposes a responsibility on you, because unlike the circuit court, where anything may be subject to appeal, nobody's looking over your shoulder. So you need to be careful, you need to be following the law. Give a due regard for the text and the meaning of it, and to try to do so in a way that is fair and reasonable. And I don't know how else to put it, but that's my feeling about it. I think that in some ways it involves more patience than is sometimes seen on the higher levels of the court. We get new lawyers a lot of the time in county court, and you wonder sometimes where they learn their professionalism, and so you have to be gently kind of directing them, because they don't mean to do this, but sometimes they can be inadvertently disrespectful or just not very effective. And so I think you have to be gentle with them, and say, sometimes chat with them in chambers and say, look, maybe you might want to think about doing this or that. And I try and do that. And that's part of my feeling about mentoring, is that we have some responsibility to the court to try to improve it by virtue of improving the advocacy that's involved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
back when you were an associate with the Krasny firm.
Yes, ma'am.
You've indicated on there an emphasis on civil and criminal litigation.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of civil?
What kind of civil? They represented real estate contractors and developers, and they did a good deal of real estate law. And there was some litigation resulting from that. There were construction arbitrations. There were disputes over real estate closings. That's for the firm that, for example, Hugh Normal was one of the partners. He did the planned unit development that's now Suntree there and did every closing there for 20 years. These things fell through. I would be doing the litigation for them as the associate doing it. Dale Detmer had a practice in wills and estates. I would do if there's a will contest, I would do that. They were able to handle these things with me there in-house. While I was there, I was offered a contract to represent folks who were charged with a crime where the public defender had to withdraw from representing them. And that was not what they were doing. It was inconsistent with what they had. And I offered to say, okay, look, I missed the criminal law. I'll take my contract and be on my way and be on good terms. They said, no, we like what you're doing for us. Here, you give us the contract money, we'll give you more money. And then I continued on doing that. They did ubiquitous family law. They did other sorts of things, but that's how I came into play. Basically, when, from their perspective, litigation was some failure, something had gone wrong with something, and then I was to handle that sort of case. So there were other construction lawsuits that where we represented contractors, and it was those were the inevitable lien foreclosures. It was those sort of things. Does that answer?
Yes. That brings us to a closing unless anybody else has a question. Okay.
Okay. First of all, I know you hear this, but I'm really truly humbled to be considered for this. And I want to thank you for the consideration. And I know it should come as no surprise that people are calling you saying Mr. Sasso had called them, and I appreciate the diligence with which you have considered my application. I would make a couple points. One, if appointed, I would work harmoniously with the people here. I got along very well with the judges and the staff attorneys and the other folks here, and even the folks at the magnetometer there at the gate. So I would treat them with the same civility, courtesy, professionalism that I would expect myself. And so I think that I would work, I'd be compatible with the other folks here. If appointed, I would do my level best to follow the law and interpret it with due regard for the use of language, words, so as so as to be clear as to the points of law that are being addressed, and to do that in an appropriate manner with regard to both the state of the law, what it truly is as applied to that individual case, but also for the legacy that I would leave and what it would say to others. So I'd be privileged to do